Human resource development as a function, you look at our responsibilities to bring an alignment from organizational strategy with the workforce strategy and linking the individual performance with the organizational performance and individual competencies with the organizational capabilities and then cascade down to functional level of training and development, career management and organizational development. HRD is about adult human beings functioning in productive systems. The purpose of HRD is to focus on the resources that the human beings bring to the success equation, both personal success and organizational success. The two core threads of HRD are individual organizational learning and individual organizational performance. It always goes hand in hand. Some view the learning and the performance as alternative rivals, while most see them as parameters in a formula of success. Thus, the assessment of HRD success or the results can be categorized into the demands of the learning and performance. Researchers have identified two major realms of focus within HRD. One is organizational development, the other is personal training and development. As implied by their names, organizational development primarily focuses at the organizational levels and connects with individuals, while training and development primarily focuses on individuals and connects with the organization. The realms of career development, quality, and performance improvement are important extension of HRD theory and practice. Now let us move on to the next slide. So what is usually the first action of HR do in organizational development program? Is it select strategies or diagnose issues or determine types of interventions or interview top management? What do you think? What is usually the first action HR do in an organizational development program? It should be diagnosing the issues. Our first primary focus should be doing the due diligence. The organizational development process is based on the action research model, begins with an identified problem or need for change. The process proceeds through assessment, planning of an intervention, implementing the intervention, and gathering data to evaluate the intervention, and determining if satisfactory progress has been made or if there is a need for further improvement. Now we see organization development has different phases. One is initially it is contracting, present issues and plans change, and diagnosing organizations, groups and jobs. You do a diagnostic study wherein you can deploy audit or primary observation or through secondary research. Then you do analysis. How do you go about analyzing? Data gathering, data analysis and data feedback, and then readiness and the capability assessment, as well as culture context and change agent, interpersonal and technological and structural. OD system-wide application behavioral science knowledge to the plan development, improvement and reinforcement of the strategies, structure and processes that leads to organization effectiveness. Organization change, in contrast, is more broadly focused and can apply to any kind of change, including technical, managerial innovations and organization decline, or the evolution of the system over time. These changes may or may not be directed as making the organization more developed in the sense implied by OD. The process of OD includes the following steps, which are entering and contracting, diagnosing organizations, groups and jobs. You need to do a diagnostic review. Then you do a collecting, analyzing and feeding back the diagnostic information. Then designing the interventions, leading and managing change, and entering and contracting. In entering and contracting, what do you do? The entry and contracting process constitute initial activities of organizational development process. They set the parameters for the phases of planned change that follow diagnosing, planning, implementing change, and evaluating and institutionalizing it. Organizational entry involves clarifying the organizational issue or presenting problem, determining the relevant client and selecting an OD practitioner. Developing an OD contract focuses on making a good decision about whether to proceed and allows both the client and the OD practitioner to clarify the expectation about how the change process will unfold. Now we move on to the diagnosing the organization, groups and jobs. An organization level diagnostic model consists of environmental inputs, a set of design components called strategic orientation, and a variety of outputs such as performance, productivity, stakeholder satisfaction. Diagnosis involves understanding each of the parties in the model and then assessing how the elements of the strategic orientation align with each other and with the input. Organization effectiveness is likely to be high when there is good alignment. Group diagnostic models take the organizational design and the primary input, examine goal clarity, task structure, and group composition, performance norms. As with any other open systems model, the alignment of the parts is a key to understanding effectiveness. At the individual job level, organization design, group design, or personal characteristics of individual occupying the jobs are the salient input. Individual jobs have 5 key dimensions. You need to remember this for exam point of view. The 5 dimensions are task, task significance, skill variety, and task identity, autonomy, and feedback. Continuous feedback. So there are 5 personal characteristics of individual occupying a jobs. Individual jobs have 5 key dimensions. The jobs which has got 5 key dimensions, which are skill variety, task significance, task identity, autonomy, and continuous feedback, that work together to produce outputs of work satisfaction and work quality. Collecting, analyzing, and feeding back diagnostic information. The 4 major techniques for gathering diagnostic data are questionnaires, interviews, observations, and unobtrusive measures. The secondary sources such as company records and activities. Benchmarking is a useful tool data collecting method to examine the best practices of other organizations and make changes in operations based on what is learned. Okay, data analysis techniques fall into 2 broad classes: qualitative as well as quantitative. Qualitative techniques generally are easier to use because they do not rely on numerical data. The fact also makes them easier to understand and interpret. On the other hand, quantitative techniques, on the other hand, can provide more accurate reading of the organizational problems. Feedback is concerned with identifying the content of the data to be feedback and designing a feedback process that ensures ownership of data. Feeding back data is a central activity in almost any organizational development program. If members own the data, they will be motivated to solve the organizational problems. I always say we need to empower the people with the data. The frontline executives should have access to all the data so that in a single point of time, given a challenge, they can address to the customers what are the information available from the pool. No need to refer back to the hierarchical levels. If members own the data, they will be motivated to solve the organizational problems. That's why if you look at Starbucks, which is having a presence across the spread across the world, they have their policies and standard operating procedures. All the rules and regulations are there in their mobile application. Everything's self-learned, and they can refer back to the issues on the spot while handling the customer claims issues. A special application of data collection and feedback process is called survey feedback. It is one of the most accepted processes in organizational development. Survey feedback highlights the importance of contracting appropriately with the client system, establishing relevant categories for data collection and feeding back the data as necessary steps for diagnosing organizational problems and developing interventions for resolving them. Then we move on to the designing intervention. In designing interventions, an intervention is a set of planned activities intended to help an organization improve its performance and effectiveness. Effective interventions are designed to fit the needs of the organization, are based on casual knowledge of intended outcomes and transfer competence to manage change to the organization members. Intervention design involves understanding situational contingencies such as individual differences among the organization members and dimensions of the change process itself. The four key organizational factors: readiness for change, capability to change, culture context, and the capabilities of the change agent affect the design and implementation of almost any intervention. Leading and managing change. Now, how we are going to lead and manage a change? The change process theory, which is typically unfreezing stage, wherein you get in people accept that the change will occur, ending things that resist changes is vital at this stage. Moving stage, getting people to accept the new desired state. Refreezing state, wherein when the new ideal becomes a regular part of the organization, you refreeze it. So the stages are very systematically done. Implementation theory. Interpersonal intervention strategies deal with work relationships between employees. These interventions are directed at improving the interpersonal, intrapersonal, intergroup and intragroup relations. And organizations with multiple layers, interpersonal approaches are often difficult because the layers usually accompany these interventions directed at improving the interpersonal, intrapersonal, intergroup and intragroup relations. In organizations with multiple layers, interpersonal approaches are often difficult because the layers are usually accompanied by proper channels for communications. There are bottlenecks. You cannot reach to the bottom line. You have to go through a proper channel. Then the technological strategies. Technological intervention strategies focus on processes. These processes must provide adequate sources to achieve the company goals. Technological development often include such activities as job design, job simplification, specialization, and the examine should be such as the span of control and reporting relationships. For an example, a company may decide that it has too many mid-level managers and may restructure to cut waste, reduce redundancy, and improve the profits.